And we've already seen the shift in mainstream media where they're now placing the blame of the vaccine all on Trump now, that everybody had to go out there and get vaccinated because it was mandated by a lot of companies, by the federal government, and pressure by the federal government for companies to force their employees to take the jab. And now we're seeing a pivot in the mainstream media. There's articles being written already about it, how they're blaming the vaccine on Trump and laying all the effects, all the deaths and everything else that we talked about off air right before we came on at the feet of him. This is something that I think many people predicted that if he did not distance himself from it, they were going to put it on him. Even Alex Jones recently came out and told Trump that he needed to distance himself away from the jab, like DeSantis had already done so prior.
Trump's biggest mistake ever was not allowing them to pick up the football when they did. Like, seriously, it was all. Do you guys remember in 2020 in October and stuff like that? It was, hey, there's a vaccine that's going to be coming out if people want it. We rushed it through, and that was there. People like Kamala Harris going out there saying, I'll never take a vaccine that Trump made. We'll never take this vaccine. It's a terrible vaccine. Then as soon as Biden's in power, the vaccine's the most wonderful thing. And not only can you get it if you want it, which was the original thing, like, hey, we'll rush a vaccine out there. People know it's experimental, but if they want it, then they can take that and feel better about life. Then it was, we have to force this on everybody, and it was wonderful. And instead of Trump just letting them take this absolutely toxic football, he had to. His pride just would not let him let it go. And people like Frank, people like me have been saying, Trump's got to get off this train. He's got to.
It's his Achilles heel.
Hang themselves with this rope and let go of it.
Yeah. Yep. His pride is absolutely his Achilles heel. I love so many things about Trump, but he has been warned by the people who love him for a couple years now. Hey, man, can you just back off, like, shilling this vaccine? I know you're so proud of yourself for getting it through, but just look at the evidence and just stop. He won't.
No, he won't. He won't back off. And I remember him and Bill O'Reilly both got booed when they started talking about the vaccine. He was a little bit taken back and offended by it. He hadn't really talked about the vaccine much at the rallies since early 2021, when he was doing a couple of those rallies. He kind of touted it out there, but he hasn't really mentioned it much now. But he still hasn't distanced himself away from it, saying, these individuals, pull the curtain back, show them everything that was happening behind the curtain, instead of allowing them to drag this albatross around his neck and let him sink with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I feel like Trump at one point kind of shifted his messaging a little bit more from, I'm proud of what we did with Operation Warp Speed, but I'm not sure this vaccine's really that great. And then I don't know what happened, but they just went right back to shilling for it. And I'm actually curious about your guys' take on just the idea of something like Operation Warp Speed, because when it first was proposed, I didn't want the vaccine, but my thought was, look, there's people that have incurable diseases, cancer, leukemia, things like that. If we can make it so people could actually take, knowing full well it's experimental, take a vaccine or a treatment instead of having to wait 10 years for the FDA to approve something that might save their life. I was kind of okay with that. I was like, okay, yeah, this actually makes sense. I don't want it forced on me when it's experimental, especially, but the idea of letting people make that choice for themselves made sense to me. So I'm not even mad at Trump for the Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah, I was always okay with the idea of leaving it to people to want to take it. But as soon as we knew where the road was going to go down when it was going to be rolled out, because we had already seen it play out beforehand with the mask, how people started mandating wherever you went. And the natural progression was only that the vaccine was going to be treated in the same fashion, because that was supposed to be the cure-all, right? And so for me, I was okay with the vaccine rollout. I didn't really care about it much to the effect of, okay, roll it out. If people want to go get it, fantastic, go grab it. If you don't, no big deal. But then we saw the writing on the wall prior to how they were already conditioning the public before that rollout. And mind you, a lot of people remember or might not remember that the FDA and the manufacturers for the vaccine held on to it until after the 2020 election. They didn't want to give Trump the win before that, by the way.
Yeah, then they tried to rebrand it as a Biden win too. So it's funny though, because now we're seeing the shift, and it's very clear why we're seeing the shift. I mean, if you look, and they're kind of having tacitly acknowledged that this vaccine's crap. Thank you so much for checking out this clip from the Last American Pubcast, the only podcast where everybody knows your name. And hey, while you're here, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and join us on a Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Otherwise, you might get stuck with the tab.